check. Welcome to another session of Let's Study and Read the Scriptures. That's right. I'm older producer, also known as Koluka Solo wa Otito. Yeah, man, I done found my roots. You know what I'm saying? Through all the tribulation, I done found my roots. But guess what? I'm going to help you find yours too today. Today's topic, the Revelation of Jubilees. Shem, Ham, and Japheth. So we're going to break down the understanding of Jubilees and the territories that were assigned to each of the sons of Noah. Okay, and so without further ado, let's get started. All right. The Revelation of Jubilees with Shem, Ham, and Japheth. All right, just give me a second, y'all. I'm just getting my PC lined up with the scriptures, and we're gonna get it going on. All right, so I got the scriptures up, as you can see. Hopefully, it's clear enough for you. Let me see if I can make it bigger. Okay. Yeah. So nobody got to strain their eyes to see things we bringing out today. All right. So this is the book of Jubilees. The book of Jubilees is an ancient text that was removed from the scriptures. In ancient times, it was in there, but then they moved it out. If we look at the history of the book of Jubilees, let's do a quick search on that right quick, just so you will know that the book of Jubilees is a legit book. Okay, so I'm just typing in Google. You can do this yourself as well, because some people will question the history of the book of Jubilees. Okay, my internet is not up. Hold on, let's get the internet back up. 1 second here. Snaps. Give me a sec. Let's get this. Okay. All right. So, internet backup. We just did a quick search on the let me see, book of Jubilees, not Jubilees history. Let's do this. Book of Jubilees. It says here, the book of Jubilees is an ancient Jewish text, pseudepigraphical text believed to be written in the 2nd century BCE that retells the Genesis and early Exodus stories from a different perspective. All right, that's what they say here. I got other places that say it goes way much further than that. Okay, all the way back to like here you go. You got one over here. It says go back to 100 BC. If you can see that on your Britannica. The Britannica says it goes back to 100 BC. They call it the little Genesis, the little Genesis, you know. Okay, so it's not giving me nothing today. Here we go. We got this right here. This book was likely written by a Pharisee, and its final form was likely produced around 100 BC. Okay, so that's the historical text on that. That it was from way back. You know what I'm saying? I heard it was I got some information that said it was a little bit more further back than just 100 BC, but just for time's sake and stuff like that, because I'm limited in the amount of material that I have with me. You know what I'm saying? I'm kind of like running and gunning these days. So just wanted to give you that little background, just so you know that it's a legitimate book. It ain't something that just popped up for the people that never heard of the book of Jubilees. Okay, in the book of Jubilees, it tells you, from the beginning, just like I said, it's they call it the little Genesis. And even though I don't like that word Genesis, I can go into that a little bit later. But here it tells where all the lands were divided and things of that nature. So we're going to start at the book of Jubilees, chapter 8. Book of Jubilees, chapter 8. Okay. And we're going to start at verse 10. And it came to pass in the beginning of the 33rd Jubilee that they divided the earth into 3 parts for Shem, Ham, and Japheth, according to the inheritance of each. In the first year, in the first week, when one of us who had been sent was with him. Okay. And they said he called his sons, and they drew nigh to him, they and their children, and he divided the earth into the lots, which his 3 sons were to take in possession. And they reached forth the hand and took the writing out of the bosom of Noah, their father. Okay. So we at verse 12. Jubilees chapter 8, verse 12. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to demonstrate these territories. I'm going to point them out to you on the map, so there's a clear picture of where everyone's territory is, as described by Noah. You know what I'm saying? I mean, the writer of this book, Jubilees. Okay. A lot of people have tried to figure this out. Unfortunately, they wasn't able to, I believe through great tribulation, the Father had mercy on who he had mercy on. And I was able to understand it. Okay. But let's continue, because it's gonna maybe rock the understanding that you have of the territories of the sons of Noah. So I'm telling you right now, keep an open mind, because it's going to change your whole perspective of what you've been taught before. You know what I'm saying? But this has never been broken down so that people will understand the truth of everybody's land. Okay. And I believe this is probably why they removed this book from the Bible, because it reveals so much. All right. So let's do it. Starting at verse 12, Jubilees 8 and verse 12. And it said, there came forth on the writing at Shem's lot, the middle of the earth, which he should take as an inheritance for himself and for his sons, for the generations of eternity. From the middle of the mountain range of Rapha, from the mouth of the water, from the river Tina, and his portion goes towards the west through the midst of this river, and it extends till it reached the water of the abyss, out of which this river goeth forth, pours its water into the sea Miat. This river flows into the great sea, and all that is toward the north is Japheth, and all that is toward the south belongs to Shem. All right, now this whole chapter is going to go into everybody's territory. Shem was the one that they did first. All right, so let's examine the text and bring forth its reality. Okay. All right, so it says Shem's lot was the middle of the earth. Now let's look at Google Maps. Look at the maps on this thing. Okay. Right away, we already know the equator is the middle of the earth. Okay, just off of GP, if you didn't know. Okay, the equator is the middle of the earth. Okay, you see that line going through the middle right there. All right, that's the equator. Here's a better one right here. That's the equator right there. All right, and that's from east to west, west to east, to right. That's the equator. Now let's get the prime meridian. The prime meridian, that's from north to south. Let's look that up right quick. Okay, so we see here the prime meridian also runs through Africa. You know what I'm saying? Right down through the middle. That's the prime meridian right there. If you didn't know, now you know. That's the prime meridian right there. Okay, there's a better view. Prime meridian right there. That's from north to south, and the equator right there. Okay, that's the. Oh, what the heck? Did they just do me like that, yo? You see how they try to set me up, man? The devil is a lie. Wow. I just clicked in that link right there and they just did that. Now I gotta try to edit that out. That's madness right there. All right, but I ain't gonna let them throw me off. That's the no, not to click inside that thing. You know, snaps. All right, so that's the equator. That's the prime meridian. All right, so let me click out of there. Boys, that was wow. Oh my goodness. And just so y'all know that ain't on my computer. You see I'm on the internet, and just clicking on that picture, they just went berserk with that thing. All right, so yeah, I'm due porn, me myself. All right, so here we go. It says okay, so it said, and there came forth on the writings at Shem's lot the middle of the earth, which he should take as an inheritance for himself, for his sons, and for the generation of eternity, from the middle of the mountain range of Rapha. Okay, from the mouth of the water, from the river Tina. All right, so these are 2 points we're going to look at right quick. Okay, so let's go over here. Let me see. All right, so we can see that the Rock Mountain range is right here. Go out. Okay, that's the Rafak mountain range right there. Okay, this is missing the Q in the text. All right, but that's the Rafak mountain range. Okay, so that's the first point we see. The next point he says, from the mouth of the river Tina. All right, so the river Tina it starts at Lake Tana. Let's pull that up too. I'm gonna pull this one up in the picture because we can see it much better that way. All right. So as you can see if I can blow this up a little bit. That's Lake Tana right there. That's Lake Tina. But it's Lake Tana in its current form. Okay. All right. It's Lake Tana. And this is in Ethiopia. All right. So let's read what it says here. It says the Blue Nile is a river originating in natural springs above Lake Tana in Ethiopia. All right. So the Blue Nile is what's being referenced here as the as Lake Tina. I mean, it's the river Tina because it starts at Lake Tana, then it goes this way as the Blue Nile currently. All right. So I want you to keep that picture in your head, Lake Tana. All right. So let's go back to the text. Right, from the mouth of the water from the river Tina, and this portion goes towards the west through the midst of this river. Okay, so it goes through the Blue Nile and it extends till it reaches the water of the abyss. Right, the water of the abyss is the Nile River. Okay, and they call it the abyss because at that point, when the Nile and the Blue Nile meet, there is a waterfall. Okay, and so that's what it means by the water of abyss, because it's got that, it seems like it's going nowhere. It's dropping into the abyss, but it's dropping into the Nile River. Okay, and I discovered that by looking up abyss in the Hebrew and then correlating that with the Nile River. And the Nile River doesn't translate into the abyss, but what I found out is that the people of Uganda call the abyss call the Nile River by the Hebrew word abyss. So that's how I drew that correlation. Okay. Now it says, out of this river, let's read it again. And then it extends till it reaches the water of the abyss. Okay. Which is the Nile. Get this picture back up. Okay. Which is I like the other way I used to do it with side by side because I got to keep switching screens like this. All right. So it runs from the Blue Nile into the abyss. Right. Runs all the way, follows all the way to the river abyss. Okay, and that's the Nile. Right. So it goes from here, follows it all the way through to here, to the Nile. All right. Now let's go back to the text. Okay, and out of which this river goes forth and pours its water into the sea Miyat. Okay, so it starts at the Mount Rafa in Somali. Okay, and it goes from this is the eastern border of Shem. Okay, and I'm going in the right direction because the river Tina, as it says, his portion goes towards the west through the midst of this river. So the direction that the Blue Nile is going, as we can see, was going towards the west. Let's see if we can get that up right quick again. You see it's going towards the west. Okay, so we're going in the right direction all the way from the start. We're going west on the Blue Nile, so we're going in the right direction. All right, then it meets up at the Nile River. All right, so let's continue. All right, and this portion goes towards the west through the midst of this river, and then it extends till it reaches the water of abyss, as again, like I said, the Nile, out of which this river goes forth and pours its water into the sea Miat. Let's just pull up Google Maps again. Into the sea Miat. All right. All right, you see that Rafa right there. I think that's Lake Tana right there. You gotta zoom all the way in to see the Blue Nile. But it goes up here, then it runs into the Nile. Okay, the Nile goes up, and the Nile runs into what? The Mediterranean Sea. That's right, folks. The Sea Miat runs into, the Nile River runs into the Sea of Miat, which is the Mediterranean Sea. Okay. The Mediterranean Sea. All right. So let's go back to the text here. All right. Go forth and pours his water into the sea Miat, which is the Mediterranean Sea. Okay, so you got a picture of this thing. And this river flows into the Great Sea. Okay. Hold on one second, y'all. Hold on one second. Let me see if I can pause this thing for a second. Hold on one second, folks. Let me see if I could second. Let me see if I could one second, y'all. Okay. Hopefully you didn't go anywhere. Sorry about that. Brother out there just having some fun, enjoying himself. It's normal. But here we go. All right, so it says that okay, out of this river, I almost lost my place. No, I didn't. Out of which this river goes towards out of which this river goes forth and pours its water into the sea Miat. Right? And I said that's the Mediterranean Sea. Right? Then it says, and this river flows into the Great Sea. Okay, what's the Great Sea? The Great Sea is the Atlantic Ocean. Right? The Mediterranean, because this is the western part of the Mediterranean Sea. That's what they call this area right here. They call this the western part of the Mediterranean Sea. So it's still the Mediterranean Sea. Let me see if I got something to prove that. I know I did. I just ain't got it with me right now. You can look it up though. You'll see. All right. So I think I may got something. Let me double check. See if I got Mediterranean. Don't know. I know I got it saved somewhere. I don't feel like looking it up right now because that's going to take too much time going on the internet. But when you look it up, you will see that this area right here is the western part of the Mediterranean Sea. So the Mediterranean Sea pours into the Great Sea, which is the Atlantic Ocean. Okay, let's go back to the text. Okay, let me see. Yeah. Okay, and this river flows into the Great Sea, right, which is the Atlantic Ocean. So we started out at the Rafah Mountain in Somalia, and it went into Lake Tana in Ethiopia. Okay, and then it turned to the Blue Nile. Lake Tana turns to the Blue Nile. Currently, that's the name it go by. The Blue Nile goes west and it runs into the Nile River. The Nile River runs into the Sea Miat, which is the Mediterranean Sea. And the Mediterranean Sea flows into the Great Sea, which is the Atlantic Ocean. Okay. And it says, all that is towards the north is Japheth, and all that is towards the south belongs to Shem. All right. So let's look at that map again. Now it says, all that towards the north belongs to Japheth, and all that towards the south belongs to Shem. If I didn't read no more, you would know from right there where Shem lands is. But I'm gonna keep reading just so you know what I'm saying, exactly where everything is, where everyone is, and you know what I know what I'm talking about. But if I didn't read nothing else, you already know from that right there, from the Mediterranean Sea, what is north is Japheth and what is south is Shem's. All right, so let's continue. Let's continue reading this. Jubilees 8, y'all. Jubilees 8, we at verse 12. Right, and we're going into verse 13. Now you're gonna watch this. Watch this. I mean, it's so exact. You know what I'm saying? This thing, like whoever did the translation on this thing, they did us a solid. You know what I'm saying? They did us a solid because usually the translation is not that transparent. Okay, or as easy to figure it out. I'll put it like this. You know what I'm saying? If you familiar with a little bit of Africa, and I've been studying a little bit, so yeah, some of this stuff became familiar to me. The name sounded familiar, and it just Most High, made the lights cut on. You know what I'm saying, for lack of better terms. And it was like, oh man, it's right there. Okay. And no matter what, you can't put this nowhere else. This is so obvious, right? Now watch this, verse 13, and it says, and it extends till it reaches Carasso. This is in the bosom of the tongue which looks towards the south. Okay, now everybody know what a bosom is, right? right in your bosom. You know what I'm saying? Now, the word tongue, when I looked up the definition of that, of course, you know, you have the regular definition of tongue, you know, that's in your mouth and language. And then they had this one definition that says a strip of land, a strip of land. And I said, wow, strip of land. Okay. So you look that up in just a regular dictionary, looking up, you see it's a strip of land. Okay. So the carousel should be in the bosom of the strip of land, which looks towards the south. All right, let's check it out. All right, so we're going to go to Google Maps again. I might have to go to my other map for this one, but we're going to see. We got to zoom all the way in on this bad boy. All right, now watch this. You zooming all in right here at the Strait of Gibraltar. That's what we're looking at right now. So we zoom in all the way in. And what do we see? What do we see here? Aha! Here we go, right here. Algeciras. The word was carasso. And it is right here. It is right here. Karas. It just got algae in front of it. But it's karas. This is what we're looking for. Right? And it's right in the bosom. Karas. You see, al-karas. Algeciras. You know, you know, that's how it is. Some of these things be cut off, or they may have a couple extra letters on it. You know what I'm saying? Through the changes of time and stuff like that. But we see the tongue, which looks towards the south, that strip of land. We see it's in the bosom. You see it's in the bosom. You know what I'm saying? The tongue, which looks towards the south. Right? That's which is the Gibraltar. Okay. Carasso. All right. So we're going in the right direction. Okay. We're going in the right direction. All praises to the Most High. Then it says, okay, in Jubilees 8, that and his portion, still talking about Shem, extends along the great sea. And it extends in a straight line till it reaches the west of the tongue, which looks toward the south. Okay. For this sea is named the tongue of the Egyptian sea. All right. So first it says it continues along the border of the Great Sea. Right. Let's zoom out a little bit. It continues on the border of the Great Sea, continues along the Great Sea. Okay. And then it says at a certain point, let's read. And at a certain point it says, and it extends in a straight line till it reaches the west of the tongue, which looks towards the south. West of the tongue that looks towards the south. Okay. So when I look at the etymology of the words, okay, I come to the conclusion that is talking about this area right here, the Guinea. All right. So if we go straight, now see, I told you this stuff is going to rock your understanding about where everything is. You know what I'm saying? Where Egypt is, where the land of Shem is. It's going to rock your understanding. You know what I'm saying? But you can see we hitting all the points. All the names are there. And I promise you, this is part of it too. All right. So it went along the border, then it hit a straight line, boom. You know what I'm saying? The strip that looks towards the I don't want to jack that thing up. Let me read it. It says, and it stands in a straight line till it reaches the west of the tongue, which looks towards the south. For this sea is named the tongue of the Egyptian sea. Okay. All right. Now, this is going to be so controversial because the river of Egypt is somewhere over here. I already know it is. I want to say that for another day. The river of Egypt is over this way. Some of you probably already guessed it already just by me saying the area that it's in. And so that's how I came to the conclusion with that last part, because I already know where the river of Egypt is. I read that in the 11th century book that told where the river of Egypt was. Okay, so I know, you know what I'm saying, this area over here. So it's either got to be going this way or it's got to be going this way, but at the one way or the other, it's got to be ending up here, either through this way or through this way. And so I couldn't quite figure that part out, but that was kind of hard to figure out. Was it going this way or was it going this way? If I said it went this way, then I'll be cutting out this part right here and saying that's not the part of Shem's land. So I don't want to do that. So I said I'm gonna head this way, because Guinea, the word Guinea, you have to understand, there were several translations for the name of places like Egypt. Egypt wasn't its original name. Mizraim was not his original name. It went through a couple of phases in the change of the name in time, depending who was doing the translation. Okay, so that's how we got the word Guinea. It ain't the full word of the word Mizraim, or the Hebrew character, what they called Hebrew, of those characters, but it is part of it. Okay, so that's how I got that. All right. One day I'm going to explain it, not today. It's going to take too much time. I don't want to deal with the Hebrew words today. I'm trying to do everything in the English right now. I say quote unquote Hebrew because it ain't really called Hebrew. You know what I'm saying? I'm doing everything in the English so it can be transparent, right? And you're going to see that. So we at the west part of what they said is the tongue of Egypt. Okay, now watch this. Watch this, right? Watch this. And we're going to get back on it, right? It says, in this portion extends along the Great Sea, and it extends in a straight line till it reaches the west of the tongue, which looks towards the south. Okay. So this sea is named the tongue of the Egyptian Sea. Okay, which I said is the Gulf of Guinea. Right. Now it is another name for the river of Egypt, but this ain't talking about the river of Egypt. This said this is the tongue of the Egyptian Sea. So it's two different rivers. Okay, so I would say that's the Gulf of the Guinea. Right, and it says it turns here towards the south, and it turns from here towards the south, towards the mouth of the Great Sea, on the shore of its water, and it extends to the west to Africa. And it extends to the west to Africa. Now, some people thought that meant Africa. No. You see that hypothesis there, right? That's short for the word Biafra. Biafra. So it extends to the west of Biafra. So it goes down. So it's really just following the cutout of the continent of Africa, as you can see so far. And it extends to the west of Africa. Now let's Biafra. Now let's see, where is Biafra? Watch this. Watch this. We gotta zoom in because it's right here. The Bight of Bonny. Okay. The Bight of Bonny. The Bight of Bonny is another name for the Bight of Biafra. The Bight of Bonny is another name for Biafra. Matter of fact, let's look at my other map, because my other map is going to just say it right out. Zoom in there. Same part where we at. We at the, let's see, we are here on the west coast of Africa. We zooming in that area. And where is it? And it took it off already. Don't watch this. You see, I typed in there the Bight of Biafra, and what came up, as you can see right here, the Bight of Biafra, also known as the Bight of Bonny, off the west central African coast in the innermost part of the Gulf of Guinea. Okay, the Bight has also sometimes been erroneously referred to as the Bight of Africa. All right, but it was at first called the Bight of Biafra. All right, and they seem to took it off of there. It used to be on there. I was doing my research. You know what I'm saying? I don't know where it went, but it used to have it right on there too. Took it off, dang. But you can read it. The Bight of Biafra right here. Okay. Hopefully y'all can see that. Let me blow that up, because y'all can see that. Blow that up. You know what I'm saying? Some people got bad eyes. I want you to strain your eyes trying to see this. So here we go. The Bight of Biafra, also known as the Bight of Bonny, is a bight off the west central African coast in the innermost part of the Gulf of Guinea. Okay, the Bight of Biafra, also known as the Bight of Bonny. All right, let's zoom out. So, as we can read, let me see if I can, Google Maps will show me some love. No, but it got the Bight of Bonny there, but it won't show me Bight of Biafra. They took that off quickly. Dang. They took that thing off, yo. I think I'm kidding. It used to be on there. It used to be on there. Anyways. All right. So, all right, so it goes, well, comes from over to here, and then it goes this way. And by the way, this whole area right here, I can't really highlight it that well, but this whole area right here is really called the Bight of Biafra. You know what I'm saying? The Gulf of Guinea starts over this way, and then comes all the way over here. Then somewhere around here, the Bight of Biafra starts. Somewhere around here. Okay, somewhere around here. All right, that would be the Bight of Biafra. All right, let's go back to the test. All right, and it turns from it towards the south, towards the mouth of the Great Sea on the shore of its water, and it extends to the west of Biafra. Okay, the Bight of Biafra. And it extends till it reaches the water of Gaihan, and to the south of the waters of Gaihan, to the banks of this river. Okay, so it's going to continue going down south You know what I'm saying? You know, he traced this out in the water, man. This is just beautiful how this was done. You know what I'm saying? So it could be understood. So we're going to go down further south. Okay. Further south till we run into the Gaihan. Now, my understanding of the Gaihan, and it can't be nothing else, is the Congo River. All right. Congo River. Congo River starts somewhere over here. This was you. It's not doing me so much justice. Congo River. Let me see if we can. It's gonna pull it up for us. Congo River. Okay. Congo River. This is it right here. Then it comes all the way down to here. Somewhere to here or here. One of these, right? Congo River. It surrounds the whole land of Egypt. We read that. We read that in you would read that in Genesis, right? So this was the land of Ethiopia right here. What they called Ethiopia, but it's really got another name right here. That Congo used to be called Congo Cachiopia. That's what they used to call Congo in ancient times. Congo Cachiopia. Okay, it has some more significance to it, but we're going to deal with that another day. So the Congo River surrounds the whole land of what used to be called in some ancient maps. Look it up. You will see Ethiopia. You know, this is the whole region. This whole region was called Ethiopia. I kind of feel some kind of what I want to say is a relief, you know what I'm saying? Because I did a video called Beyond the Rivers of Ethiopia, and some people slammed me for it, you know what I'm saying? So now we can understand that, yeah, they did consider this area Ethiopia, you know what I'm saying? Beyond the Rivers of Ethiopia still rings true. That is beyond these borders right here and over into America, you know what I'm saying? To the Americas. All right. And you will understand it because some people don't like that particular breakdown because they've been teaching that the 10 tribes went into America, and well, that's just not the case. I know where the 10 tribes went, and the only way that you would know is through the translation, and they didn't go to America. If they went later on in time on their own or something, a couple of people went over there. That's something different. But at that time when they was leaving the land of Assyria, the Assyria area, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, and it wasn't to America. Okay, I don't want to break nobody's heart because people didn't put in some work, but I'm dealing with the language. It's a totally different ball game. You know what I'm saying? Of people speculating. All right, so here we go. It goes to the Gaihan River, which is the Congo. Okay. Now you will have some people in the Ugandan area who call the Nile River the Gaihan. You know what I'm saying? I don't know why. But obviously, if it was the Gaihan when we came out of Lake Tana, it would have said it. But that's not what it said. You know what I'm saying? And I know the river Nile has another name, another significant name. One day we'll deal with that. But right now we're just dealing with the land of Shem. Okay. So it passes the land of Congo, as it says here, right? Let me make sure we get this. Okay. And it extends till it reaches the river Gaihan, which is the Congo. Okay. Let's look at the word Congo in Hebrew, because Gaihan in Hebrew. Let's look at that right quick. All right, Gaihan. We're looking at Strong Concordance. I can't blow this up any bigger, unfortunately. Hopefully, it's not too small. But if you can see, we got the G. We got the right here. This could either be Z or K sound. Most people use it as a K sound. I do too, but every now and then is used as a Z or a G even sometimes, but it's Gi Kong. And it's the N right here. And if you know the African language, a lot of times with the N, they add a G to it. So it becomes an ing. Just like with the B sound, they add an M to it. You know what I'm saying? So the M becomes an mbu. You know what I'm saying? The N becomes an ing. You know, so we got gazang, not chong. You know, they use it as a CH. And that's not the case. It's a K. It's a hard K. All right. So it's Congo. This is what it is. You know what I'm saying? Kong. E-Kong. Right? Yeah. So that's that. And so I'm just showing you that right quick. That's strong concordance number H1521. All right. So it's the Congo. It's the Congo. All right. And then it says, it extends its river to the waters of the river Gaihan and to the south of the waters of Gaihan, to the banks of this river. So we're going past the Gaihan, okay, and we're looking for the next river that's past the Gaihan, and we're gonna that river gonna start heading east, okay, at the next river past the Gaihan, past the Congo, and then we're gonna start heading east. Okay, let's look at the map here. Now it says it's another river that starts here somewhere. I couldn't find it. I'm be honest with you. I couldn't find it. I know the next major river that goes to the east, that borders on this shore right here, is the Orange River, which is down here. Did they just take my text into Hebrew? Okay. The Orange River. Okay, so the Orange River goes all the way to the west coast of Africa. You got to zoom all the way in to see it, but that's like one of the major rivers. They're doing this no justice with this map. Let's see. Let's look over here, see if they do some justice. Okay, so we get to see the river on this map right here, right? And it runs all the way to the west coast. I mean, it runs all the way to the shore of Africa. Let's zoom in there. You see that there? That's like one of the longest rivers in Africa too. You know what I'm saying? Lengthwise. Not the longest. Of course, you got the Congo and the Nile that's really long. But that's up there. You know what I'm saying? It could be one in between there. I'm not sure. I couldn't find one. So I thought it was the Orange River. And then it says from here, right? The Orange River, or one of the rivers past the Congo. It didn't give the name of the river. It just said on the banks of the next river past the Congo, south of the Congo. Okay. And then it says that's when it started going east again. And it extends towards the east till it reaches the Garden of Eden, to the south thereof. Okay. And to the east the mountain Rapha. All right, so it may be a little higher up because the river Rapha is all the way up north. It's a little further north. It's all the way in Somalia. You know what I'm saying? So you got the Congo somewhere around here. Right, so it could be some other river right here. I tried to see if the Zambezi river ran all the way to the west coast, but it doesn't. So it goes east somewhere around here. There's a river that goes east, okay, and it passes the Garden of Eden. Now, the Garden of Eden, in my understanding, is somewhere around here. Somewhere around here. The Garden of Eden. The reason why I said that all these rivers, all these major rivers out of Africa, they start over in this area. So wherever this river that they're talking about is from, it's over, you know what I'm saying, this way. Somewhere over here. Okay. And then we're going eastward to, we hit Rapha, the mountains again. Okay. So it could be the Orange River, but it'll be going back northeast. You know what I'm saying? It could start back here and go this way, because it did say to the south of the garden. And the garden, I know, is somewhere around here. So it could be going this way because it's still going east, right? And then we're going all the way back up to the mountain Rapha, which is over here, somewhere over here. Let me see, Rapha Mountain. Let me put that up there. Okay. Back to the Rapha Mountains. I tell you, sometimes they don't like to put African cities and names in their search engine. Sometimes you just gotta know. It's the wildest thing. I'm serious. Sometimes I be searching for cities that don't even be there. Like I have to find another way. I got other means to find a city. Then I have to directly put it in. But a lot of times when you press the search, it won't even come up. You know what I'm saying? All right. So back to Rapha Mountain. You know what I'm saying? Descends to the River Tana in Ethiopia. And this is the land of Shem. Right? That's the land of Shem, Africa. There it is there. Hopefully that wasn't too tough on you. You know what I'm saying? And then we're going to do Japheth and Ham. Right? So we can see what Japheth land is. I'm going to go ahead and start a little bit on it too. Hopefully you ain't fall asleep. But while I got the opportunity, because I don't usually get the opportunity to do this, so I know this is going to be a long video. If you want to break it up, that's cool. But I'm going to try to run through Japheth a lot quicker, because his is like a little bit easier to understand. You know what I'm saying? Like we had to do all these turns with Shem, and to follow it along, I had to literally seek out these places. You know, well, I didn't even had to seek that hard. Once it came to me, it was just like boom, 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 boom. Once I seen the Lake Tana and the Nile, understanding of the Nile, I was off and running. Everything else came kind of easy. All right. Except for that one part I got stuck at. It says it goes south here when it got stuck right there in the straight line. So I'm like, well, did it go this way or did it go this way? Because I know some of the sons of Cush was over this way. You know what I'm saying? Not that that was their land, but they was hanging out over this way. So I found that part kind of tough. You know what I'm saying? We know that's the Egypt is America. You know what I'm saying? I did a breakdown on that, Tamerica. Like I said, different times they had different names. You know what I'm saying? Tamerica was one. And Egypt was one. That's the most modern. You know what I'm saying? I don't know when was they ever called Mizraim. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm talking about from a historical point of view. Yeah, I don't know about that one. But the Kikoptic, yeah, that's at one point it was called that. You know what I'm saying? Different how people translate and how they spoke it, you know what I'm saying, at different times. And there was one more one that they pronounced it as, and that's that's where I got the Guinea from. Okay. Um, yeah. So different times, like I said, they changed the names up and stuff like that. All right, let's get to Japheth. Now we just did Shem, and this is going to prove that I was right about the land of Shem. You know what I'm saying? That land is Shem's land and not Ham's land. Okay, let's start on Japheth land. Mr. Colin or Kalen. I don't know if it's Colin or Kalen, but it's the Qalan. They could pronounce it Kalen or Colin, but modern time they said the colonizers. I don't know, so it could be pronounced either way. And another way they pronounce his name is Kekel. In modern time they might say Jekyll. Okay, and I got that from when I go on the road, I don't just look at the word, I also look at the root word. So that's why I got two names, looking at the root word versus just the name. You know what I'm saying? Then you got to it'll show the name, then they have the root. So that's where I got both of them from. Okay, so now let's deal with the land of Japheth. Okay, right, and it says that this portion came forth by the lot for the sons for Shem and his sons, that they should possess it forever unto his generations forevermore. And Noah rejoiced that this portion came forth for Shem and for his sons. And you remember all that he had spoken with his mouth in prophecy, for he had said, Blessed be the Lord God of Shem. And may the Lord dwell in the dwelling of Shem. And he knew that the Garden of Eden is the holies of holies, and the dwelling of the Lord in Mount Sinai, the center of the desert, and Mount Zion, the center of the navel of the earth. These three were created as holy places facing each other. One day I'm going to tell y'all what Mount Zion is. It's real cool, y'all. I'm telling you, when I found all this out, and I only found out through the translation. There was no other way. My research on the translation. And I was like, man, it's right there in our face. Good God Almighty. Right in the center of the earth, just like it said it would be. The navel of the earth. All right. Let's get on with Japheth. No, Ham came second. Yeah, so okay, yeah, let's talk about Ham. And for Ham came forth the second portion beyond the Gihon, towards the south, to the right of the garden. And it extends towards the south, and it extends to all the mountains of fire, and it extends towards the west to the sea Atel, and it extends to the west till it reaches the sea Mauk, that sea into which everything which is not destroyed descends. And it goes forth to the north to the limits of Gadir, and it goes forth to the coast of the waters of the sea of the waters of the great sea, till it reaches near to the river Gihon. And it goes along the river Gihon until it reaches the right of the Garden of Eden. And this is the land which forth came from Ham. That's the portion which he occupies forever for himself and his sons into their generation forever. Okay, so let's look at this. It says to the right, let's start it off. It says to the south to the right in verse 22, beyond Gihon, the Congo, beyond the Congo towards the south, to the right of the garden. All right, so let's look at this. Right, so we know where the Congo is, right? It starts somewhere over here. Let me see if I can put up a better picture of the Congo. Let me see. What a Congo picture of the. Well, you know what? I could do a search on the Congo. Hopefully, nothing crazy come up like it did earlier. Oh God, I gotta try to edit that out. I ain't got no editing software with me too. Man, that's messed up. Okay. I'm scared to open it up, yo. The way happened last time. Oh goodness. Okay, I have to be prepared to click off of it just in case. All right. The Congo, as we can see here, I gotta try to edit that thing out, man. I ain't got no editing software. That's messed up. I think I got a way I can do it. Okay. So the Congo, as you can see right here, is Gabon, and then the Republic of Congo, then the Democratic Republic of Congo, and then right there on the border of Angola. Okay, so it seems like it's an. Uh-oh. What happened? You know what I'm saying? They want to do that crazy stuff. Oh, I might have clicked on it by mistake. All right, so there's another little river right there, but they don't go all the way across like the Orange River do. I don't know. All right, so all right, so that's the Congo. He said to the south and to the right of the Congo. Now this was when all the lands were close together. It might have been a little sea separating them at the time before the Most High divided all the lands. Okay, and as you can see, Ham was supposed to go towards the west from the Gaihan. Let's look at this. Right. Ham came forth the second portion beyond the Gaihan towards the south to the right of the guard, and it extends to the south. No, I gotta go back up. No, I'm all right. And it extends towards the west till it reaches the sea of Ma'uk. That sea which everything which is not destroyed descends. Okay, and it goes forth towards the north to the limits of Gadir. And it goes forth to the coast of the waters of the sea, to the waters of the great sea, till it draws near to the river Gaha. So let's pull up this map. Now remember, this is when all the lands was close by. There wasn't no big ocean there. It was just a little sea there. All right. So Ham got all of this right here, right? He kept going west till he can't go no more. Then he goes up north, right? And then there's a little coastal water right there, okay? And then he comes back to the Great Sea, okay? And goes down to the Gaihan again. So it's like the way the waters were separated, cut out the whole territory. Just as we see the continents, you know what I'm saying? The Most High definitely knew what he was doing, you know what I'm saying? To make it clear, right? Remember, this is somewhere around here is where the Gaihan is, somewhere around here, right? So he follows along that Great Sea until he runs into the Gaihan again, right? And that's the land of Ham, South America. Right, and I'm gonna show that it's the case when we start to do Japheth's land. Right, so let's do Japheth right quick. Just made light work with Ham's land. Okay, and some of y'all gonna say, well, how come Ham is all in the Bible? Because some of Ham's people came into Shem's territory. The Bible talks about that. Not only was it Canaan, but sons of Cush. You know what I'm saying? Some of what they call Mizraim, you know what I'm saying? They came into Shem's territory, you know what I'm saying? But some of them did go into South America, their homeland, and them was the people that was already over there, you know what I'm saying? All All right, so let's deal with Japheth land right quick. Ooh, let me see. This is a long video. I'm gonna try to get done in the next half hour, 20 minutes. I know this might have been like a 2-hour video, but it's worth it though, so everybody know what's what. Okay. And for Japheth came forth the third portion beyond the river Tina, right, to the north of the outflows of its water, and it extends north easterly to the whole region of Gog, to all the countries east thereof, and it extends northerly to the north, and it extends to the mountains of Kelp towards the north, that's all the way up north, and towards the sea of Mauk. Where you heard the sea of Mauk, you heard the sea of Mauk when Ham was talking about it, right? Remember, this is when all the lands was close by, okay? And it says, and it goes forth to the east of Gedar, as far as the region of the waters of the sea. And it extends until it approaches the west of Farah, and it returns towards Apharak, and it extends easterly to the waters of the Sea of Miat, the Mediterranean Sea. And it extends to the region of the river Tina in the northerly eastern direction until it approaches the boundary of its waters towards the mountain Rapha, and it turns towards the north. This is the land of Japheth. Okay, so right away it says beyond the river Tina to the north and east, beyond the river Tina. Right, remember this was Lake Tina right here, Lake Tana, Rapha, Lake Tana, Blue Nile, comes all the way up here, right? So northerly and easterly, northerly and easterly of Lake Tana. So we going this way. Boom, 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 boom. And I'm gonna prove this was accurate. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna prove this is really, really accurate. You know what I'm saying? So boom, boom, boom. From this point here on, it is Japheth. You know what I'm saying? Across that Red Sea and that little, just that little part of Africa, just that little part. You know what I'm saying? A little strip right there. All of that is Japheth territory. Going all the way towards the east, towards the north, towards the mountains of Kelp, which is up here. Okay, that's all the way up here. Okay, and then it mentions of water. Okay, and remember, this is when all the lands was close by. It wasn't this far away, right? So this land extends all the way over here, right? All the way over here to the Mauk and Gadir. This is the same thing as Ham, right? It goes all the way west, and it comes back down here, and it comes back over here to the Great Sea. Then what it says is meet up at the Miat River, and then back down to Lake Tana. Okay, so all this area, and it looks like a whole lot, but realistically, these lands are a lot smaller than the mountains. I mean, than the map make them look. Okay, and I'm gonna prove it. Okay, I'm gonna show again. You know what I'm saying, to help you understand. So all of this area right here, all of this up to here, somewhere these islands were split between Ham and Japheth. Back to the Mediterranean Sea, boom, that's all Japheth. Okay, right? And it stands to the river, okay. Right, and I'm gonna prove it. I want to go into chapter 9 right quick. That was chapter 8. Let's go into chapter 9 because it's gonna go into a little bit more about Japheth land. I'm gonna prove, you know what I'm saying, what I'm saying. Cush, divided his land between what they call Mizraim, put to the, now watch this, Cush towards the east, and to the west of him Mizraim, and to the west of him put, and to the west of him Canaan. You see this all stacked going west. So Canaan should have reached all the way to the westernmost part of South America. Okay, that was supposed to be all Canaan's land over there. Then the next land to him was put, you know, what they call it in the English, put. The next one to him is Mizraim, or Mary, you know what I'm saying? He got several different translations for his name. Egypt, you know what I'm saying? That's another translation for his name. And then Cush. Okay, so Cush would have been the closest to the border of the Atlantic Ocean on its east side, on its east coast. Let me pull up the map. So Cush would have been closest over here. You know what I'm saying? Cush would have been close over here. But we could see later on when I get into it, you could see some of Cush people was here. Some of his people was here. You know what I'm saying? But he would have had this part. Mizraim would have had like the middle part put next to him. And Canaan would have had all of this side over here. You know what I'm saying? So Egypt would have been like in the almost close to the middle of South America. All right. But let's go to chapter 9. Let's continue reading chapter 9. All right. I'm going to do Shem's land later because I don't want people to get confused with these names that they're using in here. I already showed you that it's in Africa, that Africa is the continent of Shem by the way it's cut out. You know what I'm saying? How it was divided. But if I read this, you're going to get confused again. And I'll explain that later. So we're going to finish doing Shem's part later because it's going to take a lot of explaining. Because that's where you got Ashur and the Tigris and, you know what I'm saying, all these things that, you know, kind of throw you off. So let's go right over to Japheth, right? It said, Japheth divided his land of his inheritance amongst his son. The first, watch this, because this is important. The first portion came forth for Gomer to the east from the north side of the river Tina, right? Okay, let's check this out on the map. Let's check this out on the map. To the east, this is the river Tina, you know, the Blue Nile, Lake Tana and the Blue Nile. To the east of it, to the north, is the land of Gomer. And what's to the east of that? This right here, y'all. To the north and to the east is the land of Gomer. That would be Saudi Arabia, Yemen, Oman, all of that. Jordan, Israel, modern day Israel, Lebanon, Syria, all of that. That's the land of Oman. I mean, land of Gomer, I just gave it away. I'm going to show y'all in the translation that their names are still on the map. Oman, Yemen. Let's look at the text in the biblical characters. Let's go, what's it? Sons of Gomer. Do a search right quick. All right, so this is the sons of Japheth, Gomer, Magog, Madai, Javan, Tubal, Meshach, and Tiras, right? So this part is going to show how their land was divided up. And Gomer, when I translate Gomer, I get Gome. Now this letter right here, people say it's an R. And that's really just a modern translation of this letter. It's an N. It has two translations actually, before it became an R. At one point it was an L. At one point it was an N. Okay. So you might find it being an N or an L. Like I said, during time, names were changing. You know what I'm saying? Translations were changing depending on who did it. You know what I'm saying? What they call the Northern Kingdom or the Southern Kingdom. I don't really say that now, but that's how the terms other people use, either Judah or the 10 tribes, right? So you got an earlier translation and a later translation. So I got Gomen out of this. Gomen. You know what I'm saying? Not Gomer, but Gomen. That's what I got out of it. All right. So if we look at the continent, you see Oman right there and Yemen right there. So, and Emirates, so they kept their names. You know what I mean? This is the sons of Gomer. You know what I'm saying? This is who they are. All right. Continuing on in Jubilees 9. All right. And it says in the north there came forth for Magog and all the inner portions of the north till it reaches the sea of Miyat. Japheth division is easiest. It's the most easiest, right? So Magog is all that towards the north, and towards the east, towards the northeast. Going this way is all the sons of Gomer. When you look at all the sons of Gomer, you would get Riphath, that would be in the Indians. That's not their original name though. The original name would be Lokpal, Lokpal, L-O-K-P-A-L. I don't know how it became Indian. And then going this way, that's Turgamar. All of this is Turgamar. All of this is Turgamar. It's not Moab, like some people. I don't know how they came up with that. All of this over here is Turgamar. Okay, and this is Riphath. And this is Gomer. All right, that's what it says. The first portion came forth for Gomer to the east from the north side of the river. So going towards the east, all that towards the east, as we can see, were the sons of Gomer. All right, and the sons of Gomer are Ashkenaz, Riphath, and Togarmah. All right, I didn't do the translation of Ashkenaz. To be honest, I don't know why I skipped over that one. I didn't do the translation of that, but it's beyond Lake Tina. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, Riphath, I told you that's the Indians. Togarmah, that's all the way towards the Philippines, the Fiji Island. You know what I'm saying? Australia. That goes to show you that Japheth was black. I could prove it too, to be honest with you, but I'm just telling you where the lands are right now. You know what I'm saying? Based on the translation, based on the description that's given here in Jubilees 8. The translation helped me mostly, you know what I'm saying? But this just made it easier right here. It's like, oh, snaps out. All right. Right. So Gomer went straight to the east. Everything east of Tina, that's Gomer. Okay. And it's separated by different sons. Okay. Then after that, you got to the north east is Magog. So all that up there, you know what I'm saying? Y'all know what's up. I ain't got to name it. All that up there. You know what I'm saying? All the inner portions of the north, as it says right here, till it reaches the Miyat, Sea of Miyat, which is what? The Mediterranean Sea. Okay. And then next comes from Madai. That's what they call the Medes. And his portion that he should possess from the west of his two brothers to the islands and to the coast of the islands. Okay. So he should get the west of Magog and them. So all of this right here, all the way to the islands. What? This is the island. This is the islands. Then of course America is considered the islands too. So this is all Madai. And the funny thing about it is, right, when you look at this, the name of Mediterranean, that's where I think the name of Mediterranean came from. Part of it is from Madai, his name. You know what I'm saying? Okay, so to the islands, that was Madai, right? Madai, I don't know how you pronounce it. And for Javan came forth the fourth portion, every island and the islands which are towards the border of Lud. Okay, Lud is one of the sons of Shem. All right. So I believe Lud was towards the west coast of, closer to the west coast of Africa. If I'm not mistaken. I gotta do Lud's again. Right. And we know what Javon's is mostly, right? That would be this. You know what I'm saying? This is all Javon's territory. Right? And Tubal there came forth the fifth portion in the midst of the tongue, which approaches towards the border of Lud. Okay? To the region beyond the second tongue unto the third tongue. Watch this. This is going to be wild right here. So Tubal got from Portugal all the way over here to the United States, all the way to the Mississippi River, basically. That was his territory. Okay, I could prove it. You know what I'm saying? But I'm just saying. You're gonna see, right? And from Meshach came the sixth portion, all the region beyond the third tongue, till it approaches the east of Gadar. So beyond that is Meshach. Who is Meshach? That's the Mexicans. You know what I'm saying? You remember the Mexicans were on the west coast of the Americas. This was the Mexican territory. History proves that. You know what I'm saying? So I ain't gotta make this up. History shows that. Hey, brother, I'm recording. So history shows that that's the west coast of the America. Thank you, man. I appreciate you. History shows that the west coast belonged to the Mexicans. You know what I'm saying? And then the north part of the North America, those were the Eskimos. Those are all the sons of Meshach. Okay? Those all the sons of Meshach. Okay? Mexicans and the Eskimos. And they came all the way down to a certain part. Now watch this. It says, and for Tyrus came forth the seventh part, 4 great islands in the midst of the sea, which reached to the portion of Ham. So I just proved right there that Ham's land is South America, right? Tyra ended up getting all the little islands. You know who the Tyra is? That's Tianos. Tyra is the Tianos. Did I pronounce that right? Tianos. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Tiano. Let me see if I pronounce that right. Because I don't need to look that up. Tianos. Let me see. I don't even know how to spell it. Tianos. I've been saying it all week. Nah, I can't even say it right. Tianos. Native. Tainos. There you go. That's it. Tainos. There you go. Tainos. Yeah, the Tainos. Yeah. The Taino were the indigenous people of the Caribbean, particularly inhabiting Greater Antilles, Cuba, Jamaica, Hispaniola, Puerto Rico, and the Bahamas. Y'all see that? So it lines up exactly with what was said in the book of Jubilees. Tianos were the indigenous people of the Caribbean, particularly inhabiting the Greater Antilles, Cuba, Jamaica, Hispaniola, Puerto Rico, and the Bahamas at the time of the European contact, right? So it lines up exactly what Jubilees 9 is saying, right? That for Tyra came forth the seven portion, 4 great islands in the midst of the sea, right? Which reached to the portion of Ham. And what portion is Ham? South America. So Tainos got the islands and pushed up to the portion of Ham, which is South America. Okay. And they all said, so be it, so be it. For themselves and their sons forever throughout their generations, to the day and judgment, on which the Lord should judge them with the sword and with fire for all their unclean wickedness, for their errors, wherewith they have filled the earth with transgression, uncleanness, and fornication, and sin. Now, hold on, I forgot to do this one part. It says, and the islands of Kamatura came out by lot for the sons of Aparshad and his inheritance. Now, I've been trying to find the islands of Kamaturi. I couldn't find it, yo. I couldn't find everything, but I was like, I can't find that thing for nothing. Maybe it come to me, find it later. I couldn't find it. I didn't know what that meant right there. Not even the reverse translation could I get it. I couldn't figure that one out. You know what I'm saying? But somebody else might figure it out. But as you can see, and it looked like Japheth got a lot, but like I said, the way they drew this map up, the United States is not as big as it shows on this kind of map. Neither is Eurasia, what they call Eurasia. It's all a lot smaller. A lot smaller than it's a lot smaller than what they show. And so yeah, there it is there. You know what I'm saying? The book of Jubilees, the revelation of Jubilees, the land of Shem, Kemen, and Colin or Kalen, Kekel, Japheth, Ham, and Shem. Clear as day. Africa is Shem land. Everything east and north of Africa, Japheth, including the North Americas, all the way to the border of South America, and below that then is Ham's. Somebody might ask, well, what is Australia? Yeah, that's Turgamar. That's Japheth. And yeah, the natives were black. So, and I'm not trying to be racist. I'm just saying. So somebody can say they can't be. They gotta be African or Kush. No. Turgamar. You know what I'm saying? That's who they are. That's what they tell you they are in their language. You know what I'm saying? But it translates into a Hebrew. Well, they call it, I tell you, into the language of the Bible. You know what I'm saying? What they called themselves. So that's how I found that out. You know what I'm saying? And you look at the Fijis. You know what I'm saying? The native Fijis, they were black too. So I don't want people to look at color and say, because they're black, and say, no, they can't be, because they can't be Japheth because they're black. No, Japheth got black children. You know what I'm saying? From ancient times, but sometimes black people produce white babies. They call them albinos in some places. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah. So that's how the lands were divided. So Africa is the land of Shem. And I gotta keep saying that because, they always think that Africa is Ham's land, but there are Ham in Africa. So in Africa right now, you have both Shem and Ham. You know what I'm saying? Because of what happened early in ancient times, yeah, so they're both there, but Ham was also in South America before they were colonized. But yeah, so the Shem has always been an African land. You know what I'm saying? That's just the way it is. God made it that way. I'm just bringing it forth. You know what I'm saying? Not trying to be funny to nobody. everybody got the right to, you know what I'm saying, receive salvation. The gospel was preached to Gog, Magog, all of that. The apostles went to the land of Gog. You know what I'm saying? So they went to Britain. They went everywhere, you know what I'm saying, in their time, preaching the gospel of salvation, the gospel of peace. You know what I'm saying? So this is what we need to know. And to the people that were scattered to the four corners of the earth, who thought that maybe you didn't have a history, now you know. Come from the land of Africa. 9 times out of 10, you the children that the scriptures were talking about. You fit the prophecy of Deuteronomy 28, just like it said you would be scattered to the four corners of the earth if you didn't keep the commandments. And that was another reason why I thought it was important to bring forth this information so it can prove the Bible to be true and that the prophecies came true and there's still prophecies to come true. And you can see once you know who the real people are and you apply it to the scriptures, you'll see how prophetic the scriptures is. And that's the main thing I wanted to bring forth. Maybe, you know what I'm saying, you see that and realize that, you know, God is real. With that, I say to all those who have the peace with them to receive the truth, to you, I say, peace and grace. Till next time, I'm Older Producer. Be well. Oh, maybe I should add also, just in case somebody get me for using their pictures in the music, you know what I'm saying? What they say, not all rights reserved, but fair use. All right, y'all. Peace.